in this class. Let's see, it must be F7. The Nature Conservancy is a private, not-for-profit organization, and as such, we're a pretty big organization. You know, we have a program that stretches out. We're in every state in the U.S., and we're in a total of, I think, 32 countries right now. And we're a corporation, although we're a not-for-profit corporation. And we have lawyers that are very concerned about liability. And we're not like the state. We're more subject to liability problems, I think, than the state is. And so, because of a flaky rule that happened about 5 years ago in Illinois, it used to be if you welcome people onto your site, if you're a private landowner and you let people come and birdwatch on your site, you have some liability protection. Well, about 5 years ago, in its infinite wisdom, I shouldn't say that. About 5 years ago, our state legislature signed a bill that effectively made it possible for us to have some liability protection when you're on our property, only if you're carrying a gun. If you're not carrying a gun, if you're out there bird watching, which I would profess is a little bit safer than hunting, if you're out there bird watching, we have no liability protection. If you're out there with a gun, we have some liability protection. So our first thought was, we put a big barrel of guns at the edge of Emiquon, and we say, you're not allowed on our property unless you're carrying a gun. But that wasn't going to work out. So our lawyers came up with a liability waiver that's in front of you. And we would love to have you on our property using these skills that you're developing for your own good, to share with your friends and your family, and hopefully to share with the class. And ultimately, you know, a great desire of ours is that you'll share it with the Nature Conservancy and our other partners here. We put together a lot of brochures. We're hoping to develop a lot of web information and things like that. And we would just be tickled pink if we could use some of your stuff. So our lawyers would like, and for some other reasons, we'd like for you to sign this liability waiver. So I've given everybody a liability waiver. There's kind of a list of rules there on the front that are kind of preserved rules. We're trying to come up with a liability waiver that we can use for several different things. And this one isn't quite finished yet, so in some ways it doesn't make sense. It's got a bunch of fishing rules on there, but I've crossed out the fishing thing and the boating. We're not asking you to sign this for fishing and boating. If you want to fish and boat on our property, which you're welcome to do that as well, but you'll have to sign another liability waiver that's down at the front desk at Dixon Mounds. So for fishing and boating, and there's a list of rules there that you can then take home with you, or take with you fishing and boating, you need to sign that down at the front desk here at Dixon Mound. For your Emiquon Corps of Discovery treks onto the Nature Conservancy property, you need to sign this waiver. So if you put your name, address, and so on at the top of that first page, and then sign it at the bottom of the second page, I think there's a little red asterisk where you need to sign on the second page, and turn those back in. And then on the last page, or someplace in there, there's a map that you can take with you. So I get the long pages, the first one's back with your signature and so on. You get the map, and you also get that permit. That's a little half sheet. If you fill that out and sign it. And I'd also like for you to turn that over then, and I want to give you some phone numbers. If you're on our property or on Fish and Wildlife Service property, and there's an emergency, 911 always works. If it's not an emergency, but you think you need some help from law enforcement, so you see a rule, you know, a significant violation of laws or something like that, let me have you write the Fulton County Sheriff's Office telephone number on the back. It's area code 309. So this is the little sheet of paper that you're going to carry with you when you're on the Conservancy property. That doesn't work for Fish and Wildlife Service property, and I'll go over the properties here in a little bit. But it works for you when you're on Nature Conservancy property. And the Fulton County Sheriff number is 309-547-2277. 309-547-2277. Okay, everybody got that one? Let me give you another number before you go back to filling the other things out. Our office number, the Nature Conservancy's office number, is also 309-547. And then it's 2730. 2730. Now, our office is open from about 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Thursday. we're often not a lot around on the weekends. So if something comes up when our office is closed, and you need an answer to a question about the Nature Conservancy right away, I'm going to give you a number that I don't want you to share with everybody else, but you're special people, and so I'm going to give you my cell phone number that'll go to my wife's cell phone. I figured out how to forward it. So my name again is Doug Blodgett. My cell phone number is 309-369-7897. So if you're out here taking pictures or you need an answer to a question and it's Saturday and you can't get an answer to that question and you want to know, you need to know it right now, feel free to call me. I don't guarantee I'll answer right away, but if I don't answer right away, leave a message and I'll get back to you ASAP. I don't mind you calling anytime, day or night. Be happy to do that because we're really excited about having you folks out on the property. Yes?
Those of us who are already in the Corps of Discovery, can we already fill these out? Because I've got this.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
That's fine
So we
then.
don't need to do it.
Some folks in the Corps of Discovery that took the class previously have already filled one of these out for this year, and that's fine. Yep. So, again, this is a little bit confusing because our forms aren't quite up to par yet. We're still figuring these out. They were working on this one in the office. I was out of the office this week, and I just picked up the stack. But this is an Emiquon Corps of Discovery form that gives you access to some places on our property. Right now, our property is closed to the public, except if the public goes to Dixon Mounds and gets a boating and fishing permit, they can be on the west half of these lakes. So they can park their vehicles here and they can boat and fish, and those rules are downstairs. Other than that, it's closed to the public pretty much right now. We're building some infrastructure and some things that will be opening some areas up to the public. But right now, the public, for example, doesn't have permission to park and walk on our levee. The public doesn't have permission to be walking down Morton Ridge where the archaeology is going on unless they're there on a day when the archaeologists have it open to the public. So basically, except for fishing and boating on about half of our property, and you can get that permit downstairs, and waterfowl hunting, that's 3 days a week, 3 mornings a week during waterfowl season. So starting late in October, running through December, they're waterfowl hunting about the same places that they're fishing. I think it's on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings. And before that season, we'll put on the website, as we formalize those rules this year, on the Emiquon Corps of Discovery site. We'll try to work with Susan and Michael, or if Kelvin's, whoever's taking care of that Facebook page, we'll try to get all of this stuff on there. So you don't need to worry about waterfowl hunting now, except I just want you to know when waterfowl season comes around, we don't want you out there where they're waterfowl hunting when they're hunting. Pardon me?
Wearing a duck.
Yeah, especially wearing a duck. If you're from Havana and you're Havana duck, that's really dangerous for you to get out there. So, a little bit about the landscape out here. We're here at Dixon Mounds, and our property is shown in the green line here. And by signing that permit, that liability form that's good until the end of December, and carrying that permit with you, and please, if you're parking someplace along the roadway, don't park along the highway, but if you park up here along Clark Road someplace, or park at the top of Morton Ridge out there or something like that, and have your Emiquon Corps of Discovery thing to hang up on your mirror, we would really appreciate that. If we find a car out there, we don't know what it is, we usually run the license plate, we don't know whether somebody's, we don't know what's going on. But if we see that Emiquon Corps of Discovery, then right away we don't have to worry about it. So if you could hang that, does everybody know what I'm talking about? Mike was showing it the first week. If you can hang that on your mirror, it really helps us out. Yeah, thank you. In the back of the room, that's what I'm talking about. If you can hang that on your mirror, that's super. And if you can carry that permit with you, that'd be really helpful. And that gives you permission not to be everywhere. Right now, we're trying to keep people kind of on our trails. But you can park, so here we are at Dixon Mounds. This north is at the top. This is Highway 78, 97 running north and south. And you can come down Dixon Mounds Road and come down here and park. There's a little bit of area to park at the south end of our property, just before you go on the Fish and Wildlife Service property, before you go into the closer to Spoon River. You can park there, and right now you're allowed to walk out the levee as far as, there should be a sign out there that says area closed. Later we'll open up almost the length of our levee, at least on our property. We don't have permission up there at the top of the green line, right here. We don't have permission to let you on our levee north of there because that's owned by somebody else. But soon, hopefully, we'll be able to let you walk the whole length of the levee if you want, but you have to access it from this end. We don't have access from the north end. Right now, we don't want you to do that because there's a natural gas leak out here. And Ameren, we don't want anybody getting hurt. The chances of somebody getting hurt with that, unless you go down to where the leak is with a cigarette, you probably wouldn't get hurt. But nonetheless, they've asked us to stop access. So you can walk up. There's a superstructure, a bunch of steel sticking up in the air, where they have a valving station down here that broke this winter. And you can go almost as far as that valving station if you park down here on the south end, okay? Be careful, especially getting back on the highway. This highway is insane, and I can't find the sign, but someplace it says minimum speed for trucks is 65 out there. That's the only way they know how to drive down that highway. And they're watching the birds some of the times too, and not watching you. So I think we've been fortunate that nobody's really
died.
Yeah, nobody's died yet, but we don't want you to be the first. It'll probably, unfortunately, probably happen someday until we can get people to slow down. So be careful getting on and off, and you can walk up to that substation for now. When it's safe, when they fix that leak then, and they're willing to grant more access, then we'll let you walk the length of this, and we'll update that on the Facebook page. From here at Dixon Mounds, there was a trail that we had mowed that went down to the wetland just across the way over here. You're welcome to walk that on the trails, and if you need to get a step off the trails or something like that, that's fine. We just don't want to get pathways, these road pathways developing everywhere, because this soil is pretty erosive, and when we knock down the vegetation, we can get some problems. So, try to stay on trails. Some of the trails haven't been well maintained. If you can kind of figure out where they are and stay on those, that would be good. Up by our office, it's not shown perfectly here, but you can actually park at our office if you know where that is. Here we are at Dixon Mounds, and there's a little gravel road over here, just across from their parking lot, the staff parking lot, I think it is. And that road kind of weaves around and comes over to our office. You can park at our office and actually walk the Morton Ridge. Again, that's not open to the public, but it's open to you. So you can park at our office to do that, or you can park up on top of the ridge by that gate there. There's a gate, and we're going to keep that closed at this point. But you can park there by Alan Harn's house, if you know where that is, on our property, just off the highway, and then you can walk that ridge if you want. In front of our office, again, there's a big prairie, and we maintain a path around those prairies so you can walk that pathway. There's a really nice little wetland down here just off the highway. I would implore you actually, don't park along the highway, but if you can get off the highway on some of these gravel roads and park, that's fine. I don't think you'll have any problems. And then walk where these mowed paths are. What am I forgetting?
Explain the nature. The part that's not yours.
Fish and wildlife.
Yeah, that's it.
Fish and Wildlife, yeah, they have their own rules. Those are on the web, I think. Do you have these rules downstairs, Mike or Kelvin?
I don't think so.
I don't think, no.
We'll get some.
So they own about 2,500 acres here. Most of that is open to the public, I think. From sunrise to sunset, it's mostly open, and for wildlife photography, viewing, stuff like that. But it's closed at sunset, and they've given some tickets for people that have been in there after sunset or so. And likewise on our property. Our property is open sunrise to sunset, or a little, dawn to dusk, I guess. But don't be out there in the middle of the night unless it's a registered activity with the Conservancy, because the Department of Natural Resources, who's another important partner of ours out here on the restoration, they do patrol that. They're CPOs, and they've written tickets especially for life jackets and things like that, but other things as well. What am I forgetting? Yeah.
Oh, what is this little white thing just east of Dixon Mountain?
A little
This
circle.
eye,
Oh, no, over now about 3 or 4 inches. No, not that far. But they're close.
There's a little
to-
white square on
The
the
white
fish and
square in the
wildlife.
middle.
It looks like it's
oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Fish and Wildlife Service
That's where
property.
Danny's used to live.
That one little square.
Yeah, that little square belongs to the Fish and Wildlife Service. They bought, actually, it's not square like that. There are 2 properties there, but that's about the right area. It's across from Mr. Peters' family's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there by that little creek, just past that little creek there.
Yeah.
Little
creek,
corner
yeah.
field.
Let's see. Oh, there's some information kiosks in some of these places. But, you know, if you have questions, give us a holler at the office.
I have a question.
Yes?
Can I have my husband sign something that would allow him to come with me? or- No.
Yeah, we should, we should, yeah. Give our office a call and we can give you a permit to take somebody with you. Yeah, if they sign a liability waiver.
If we do.
Pardon me?